So I'm setting my timer. There's many things I'd like to say. I lived in Portugal for 9 years, the friendliest country in the world, according to the latest things that talk about different nations. But anyhow, one of the questions or the things that I always hear as a Canadian when I'm back here is people wondering why people of the same mother tongue stick together. And I can honestly say it's a totally natural thing to do because that's where the brain feels at rest. You got to understand when you walk into a group of people where everyone else speaks a different language than you, your proficiency level, depending on how long you've been in it, but your proficiency level decreases from being a university-educated expert to becoming a 2-year-old toddler sometimes. When we arrived in Portugal, other than in the grocery store, a customer had to ask for what they wanted and the store employee would go and get it off the shelf in a back room. So you had to know the word for exactly what you wanted. Otherwise, you played a game of charades. That's the way it was for the first, couple of years almost. It wasn't really, I was preaching within 9 months, but I felt sorry for the congregation. One of the things I'd like to say to us as Canadians, don't embarrass those who try and do not succeed. Simply encourage them, and if necessary, correct them. There is a humorous story that was said at a Portuguese camp I was speaking at, and I had only been in Portugal probably 2.5 years by then, but I was the special speaker. My family was the only English-speaking family there. It was kind of an eye-opener. They played games that were totally different because it's the way they looked at their culture. Some of the games are trying to discover, who is the fattest person and who is the skinniest person? And they had questions, and it went on, and they had weigh scales and everything else. And at the end, the person that weighed the most and was the fattest, renowned as the fattest in the group, got a bunch of chocolate bars to become fatter. The person that was the skinniest, I think, got chewing gum. But then the story was told of an English speaker talking about ministering to someone at the side of a hospital bed. They were giving a testimony. Speaker told of a patient whose eyes were filled with tears because of crying. However, the speaker did not know the proper word for tears. In Portuguese, the word to cry is chorar. Therefore, it seemed natural for the English speaker to say that chouriços were running down the face of the patient. Well, chorar, chouriços. It makes sense. You can make the connection, right? But what the Portuguese heard was the patient was crying sausages, or the patient was crying and sausages were running down their face. Just because they didn't get the right word, which is lágrimas for tears. Sometimes it's just hard to find the right word and to say, and then the wrong word comes out. All that just simply to say humiliation. One of the things we love to do because our minds got exhausted, always thinking and speaking because you have to think before you talk. And that was, we would get off to the coast. It was only a half hour, 45 minutes away, but at the coast, that's where all the tourists were in Portugal. And when you got there, they didn't even speak Portuguese in a restaurant. Half of the waiters couldn't speak Portuguese. They just spoke English. But I tell you, once in a while when we did that, it just felt, I can just be myself. I don't feel out of place. But that's how often you feel in a different culture. And that's why I love the fact that so many of our people that are coming to us are breaking the barriers, and they're coming to a predominantly English-speaking church. Thank you for joining us, Iglesia Emmanuel, and I just trust that you'll just focus in on some of these things. I don't think my timer went off. Oh, I got 5 seconds. Ciao.